Professor Bajpayee obtained BTech from Roorkee University, now it's the IIT Roorkee, MTech from IIT Delhi, and PhD from IIT Kanpur in the year 2008. After that, he joined as assistant professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering at IIT Kharagpur. And 2014 onwards, he is rendering his services as a associate professor in the same department. Later on in the year 2015, he has given the joint appointment as a faculty of School of Engineering Science and Engineering, Energy Sciences and Engineering. Professor Bajpayee is a very good academician and researcher also. He had completed till now project of 80 million rupees and project of 50 million rupees are still going on. He published more than 80 research papers in various journals, conferences, book chapters, and patents. He has also received Bhaskara Advanced Solar Energy Fellowship Award from DST, Government of India, to visit Washington State University, Pullman, USA. He is serving as solar system consultant for Water Resource Investigation and Development Department of Government of West Bengal. He is also very active in the professional activities, and recently he is a senior member of the IEEE USA, guest editor for IEEE Smart Grid Special Issue. He is fellow of Institution of Engineers. And his research interest includes power system restructuring, renewable energy system, restructured electricity market, and hybrid microgrid system. So this is the brief introduction of Dr. Prabodh Bajpayee, and as we all are waiting for the first session of the second day. So now I request to Professor Bajpayee, please hold the fort and go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arvind. And very good morning to all the participants and the other team members. So I can see we have a get together of 36, so more than 35 participants are there. And I'm very happy to share this platform with all of you. And we all know that in this period we are doing these kind of webinars, and even the classes, our regular semester classes, have been held for the whole semester this autumn through online mode. We have recently finished our semester classes last week, and this week we are supposed to finish the grading also. And so it's a new way of doing the same thing, but it always have some pros and cons. So we are having various benefits also. A lot of travel time is safe, but definitely the interaction time will reduce. If suppose for this program, if I would have come there physically, then I would get more time to interact with the participants, because I will definitely stay for some longer time. Anyway, but that doesn't mean that we cannot interact. We can always have an interaction during the my session, after the session as well. And I will be happy to discuss with all of you. And just to know, Arvind, about the set of audience, may I know what kind of category of participants we have? Like you have MTech, PhD, or faculty members?
So we have research scholar as well as the faculty member from all the corners of the country.
Very good. From your own institute also?
From 18 from my institute, and remaining there are total 96. So they will join later on. So 18 from this institute and remaining are from the other institutions.
Okay, and what are the total number of participants you have for this program?
96, including me, 97.
Very good, excellent.
Though we received 203 applications, but due to some restrictions, we could not go for that.
Anyways, good number, and definitely it's really good efforts you must have made. And I missed the yesterday's inaugural session, I think. So I hope those things went very well as per your plan. So how many faculty members in this group we have out of 97?
At least
Around
60, at least 60, 65.
60, 65 are the faculty members. Very good,
Yeah.
great. And so remaining around 30 research scholars, all?
Yeah. Yeah.
No MTech or UG student?
No, UG is not there. MTech and PhD are there.
So MTech and PhD from your institute only or from other institute also?
Other institutions also.
Okay, okay. And all of them belongs to electrical engineering?
100%, 100% from the electrical.
Okay, great. Anyway, so it doesn't mean that I will be very specifically core electrical engineering topic or the things which I am going to discuss. But I just wanted to know so that accordingly I will take the session in that way. So I'm again thankful to Dr. Arvind, and our friendship is very long. I think we know each other from almost last 18 to 20 years. And even Arvind and his wife, we all three were there in the same institute, in same department, almost same Guruji also. So and so it's a really great pleasure to interact with him and support him in his program. So let me share my screen, and since Arvind ji has given me 2 sessions, so I will continue this same presentation tomorrow also. I have not split it in 2 parts because
Sir,
I kept the, yeah.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you. Actually, we are streaming this lecture on the YouTube and recording also. So please don't close your video.
Okay, no problem. I will continue with video, and is it okay that I continue with the same PPT file, or should I split it?
When?
The PPT file which I am going to present, I will continue the same file tomorrow also.
No issue.
Fine. So, or if needed, I can split also. But I will continue the same. And so let me share the screen first. So all of you can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. If any one of you have any doubt, any question in between my presentation, kindly communicate through the mode what your coordinator has suggested. So I will be happy to reply, and we can take the questions at the end also. But in between, if you find something, some doubts, you can always ask. So under this program of Faculty Development Program on Renewable Energy Sources, Challenges, Opportunities and Applications. So let me take this opportunity to announce one event which we are organizing next year, December 2021 at IIT Kharagpur. We are organizing International Conference on Power System, that is called ICPS. So this will be the 9th version of ICPS in December 2021, and it will be held in IIT Kharagpur. And we will have released the announcement recently, last week only. And we will publicize it more with more details, flyer and other dates and other things. So all of you are requested and invited for submission of your research papers and attend the conference at our institute. And so I remember it just because the title of this FDP, and we are also having the similar themes onto that. And the theme of the conference is decided as a developments towards inclusive growth of sustainable and resilient grid. So the challenges, opportunities and applications. So definitely whenever a new technology comes, it comes with some new challenges also. It comes with some benefits as well as some challenges. And from challenges, we generate the opportunity. Like all of you know, with the corona, there are a lot of challenges have come, but those challenges have bring new opportunities also. You know that Government of India has announced a lot of new things to make Atmanirbhar Bharat or vocal for local, and all those are the actually opportunities coming out of this tough time. So, and from the opportunities we develop applications to the end users. So it's a very appropriate theme you have chosen, and I really appreciate the organizer for this. Now, the topic of my presentation is on smart hybrid microgrid systems. Professor Arvind has already introduced me, And so I'm a joint faculty in Department of Electrical Engineering and School of Energy Science and Engineering since 2008 in IIT Kharagpur. And so the broad outline of the presentation has 5 sections. And I will introduce briefly on the generic electric power system. Arvind, may I have a question, please?
Yeah.
Do we have any technical session yesterday, or this is the first session?
No, yesterday we one session we completed yesterday.
Okay, and what was the topic?
Topic was from power systems. Oh, that converter, inverter related thing.
Inverter related. Okay, so that means whatever I am going to talk may not have been covered by the earlier speaker.
Definitely.
So, right.
That was taken by Professor Behra from IIT Patna. So he discussed about the inverter converter for solar system and other design.
Right. I got it. So I will talk in general about how our electric power system in general, global basis, has evolved over the time. Then what is the scenario on the global basis of energy? Then the third part is on the Indian power system, peculiar things about the Indian power system, how we have grown, and then this microgrid and especially the hybrid microgrid. So at IIT Kharagpur, we have a very good test facility with the hybrid AC/DC microgrid system. We will discuss about the setup. We will discuss about the technologies which we are studying or developed and applications also. So that is the overall outline. And I request you again, if you have any doubt in between, you please interrupt and ask your question. And since the one major drawback which I realize in this online classes is that the mode of communication has become one way actually. So since I cannot see the faces physically, or I don't know what the other side of audience is doing, so sometimes it becomes very boring for the speaker. And if I continue, if I continue speaking, it feels like I'm talking to a blank screen. There is nobody is on the other side. So I'll be happy if I listen something from other side. Whatever it is, it may be a question, it may be a suggestion, it may be a query, it may be anything. Okay. So to keep the session live, actually, if we are really online, then it has to be live also. Don't assume that it will be recorded and you can see it again and then you will go through it. So please make it live as it is right now, and it will be helpful for all of us. So let's start with this electric power system first part. So as you might have known that our electric power system is not very old. It is hardly 160 years back or 170 years back when this 1879 first DC system was invented by Thomas Alva Edison. But unfortunately, this has become most polluted enterprise in the world. However, it has the largest enterprise, not very old, but most polluted with the amount of carbon emission is maximum from the electrical power industry. So that is a challenge, and because of that only your FDP program is also on that, how to reduce the carbon emission from this. Now with the reduction in carbon emission, we are facing new challenges. And the history of this electric power system was that later on, after a few years, that AC machines and transformers were invented, and then this rivalry between the AC system and DC system started, and then Westinghouse has come up with a new company, electric company, that was promoting AC power system, and slowly DC power system gone away, and this Thomas Alva Edison has converted its power company to the electric appliance company, that is General Electric company. And that's how the evolution of AC power system start growing. And then both technically and economically, larger and larger independent interconnected AC power system grown over the globe, all over the world. So by the 20th century, it has achieved the greatest engineering achievement, electrical power system. The requirement is different in different type of countries, like developed and developing countries. So developed countries seek to improve it because they also are facing the same thing: renewables, electric vehicles, resiliency issues, sustainability issues. Those challenges are same. So they want to improve their system because they have developed the network they have is developed. Develop means their demand is not increasing. They have sufficient generation. There is no deficit in terms of energy or peak power. Like what our challenges are major on that we have deficit. So they don't have those challenges, but they have different challenges which asks the current system to improve. Our system is still expanding because we still have the deficit. However, the deficit has gone down to a very low level, but still we are expanding because there are a lot of customers which are still not connected with the grid. So we got a thrust for the transition to the smarter grid. Our grid is already smart, and the name smart grid is not true in the sense that it was dumb earlier. It was smart. We are adding new features to make it smart. So I choose to use the word smarter as a better term. And the reason for that is that renewable energy sources which are intermittent in nature, there is a need for providing choice to the consumers, and the peak demand is increasing day by day. The regulation has come, deregulation has come in the, or re-regulation has come in the electricity market, and electric vehicles are growing up in a large manner. It's not only that for two-wheeler or four-wheeler, it's going in all the sectors. Whether it is buses, whether it is trains or something like that. Electric mobility, basically it is electric mobility, not electric vehicle. The transportation sector has going to be large consumption of electrical energy. So that is another new thing. And the traditional electric grid will need to transform to a smarter grid with additional layer of ITC, with basically information and communication technology, telecommunication technology. So that is the additional layer has come into the existing power system. So it is not that the power system operation has changed. Power system operation is still same. There is still the generator, transmission, distribution is everything is there. But we need lot of data as a monitoring of our system, for monitoring of our system as well as for sending back the control signal. So for that, a strong amalgamation is done with the existing power system and ITC. Okay, so that is the thing. I have a question here. Do you understand the difference between consumer and customer? Anyone? May ask anyone who want to answer. What is the difference between consumer and customer?
No, sir.
Anyone? Any idea? I must say that someone must have some idea. Yes. Don't be silent. Say something.
No, sir.
I will ask someone. Listen, someone.
Sir, which difference, sir?
Yes.
Which difference? Please, pardon question.
The question is, what is the difference between consumer and customer?
Consumer, we relate with the load. Which consume the electricity.
And customer?
And customer, which purchase the electricity.
So consumer don't purchase, don't pay for it.
Yes, sir.
Consumer don't purchase electricity, don't pay for it.
Consumer has also pay for it. Yes. Yeah, anybody else? There are a lot of people. We have 57 now.
Good morning, sir. I am Catherine from Chennai. I feel that consumer who consumes the power and pays for it, whereas a customer who buys the commodity and later on he can use it. Okay. I feel
electricity at home, do you store and then use it later on?
we consume it. That means at once we are using it and paying for it.
Same thing for both.
No,
Sir,
whereas a
this
customer
is
who can
Avinash.
purchase and use it later also. We can store it. Any device or any equipment we can purchase and use it later.
No, I'm talking about electrical energy point of view only.
Okay.
From electrical energy point of view, what is the difference between customer and
We are not purchasing and saving it. We are paying immediately. That is at once.
No,
Sir,
it's not that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
consumer are unable to resell the product which he buys,
Why not?
and consumer cannot resell it to others.
He can. Why not? He can. If he has a solar at its rooftop, he can always sell the excess power.
Sir, it's
Sir,
it
I
may
need
be-
Actually,
to
that
say,
is called
it can
I
be as
need
a
to say one
prosumer.
answer.
That is called prosumer. Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's called prosumer because he is generating
Don't
and
go.
purchasing
Yeah, don't
also.
Sir,
go in that
sir,
definition.
the consumer.
The question asked is only what is the difference between customer and consumer.
So the consumer means those who are using the electricity. Suppose from the state electricity supply or central from those who are using the electricity, they are consumer. And customer, if somebody have installed the rooftop solar, suppose
No.
he is consume something,
No, that is
and as
prosumer.
well as he is selling
No,
selling
no.
that, they are customer of
That's a
the
prosumer. That's a
state.
prosumer.
No, that is prosumer. That is prosumer. Anybody
I
else?
think, sir, who purchasing from the just like a power distributing system distributor, which who is collecting the power generation company and distributing to the consumer. That's a middleman is customer, I think.
No, that is broker.
Sir, shall I say consumer rights are there, sir? We are supposed to get within, that is a frequency should not fluctuate, the voltage limits, all those things are there for consumer.
You are coming closer, but
Yeah,
not
because the
yet.
EB is entitled, they have the right to sell to me, sell me the commodity of electricity within my rights, okay, which I want to be.
You are very close to the answer, but not yet completed.
Sir,
Anybody else?
sir, end user is the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
End user is the
Okay.
consumer. And customer, when it is related to the money, then that is the customer. Is it?
What is the customer?
When is related with the money, when that means we are purchasing something. That
So consumer is also purchasing, na? You are paying for your
consumer itself a customer, but maybe customer confusing.
Hello.
But one thing.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Khalid.
The consumer is something which is directly consumed from the utility, while the customer is something which can customize the electrical power from the utility, like the change in the voltage, frequency, something like that.
No. Anybody else? See, its definition is like that. The difference basically is like that. It is a difference of choice. So when you are a consumer, you don't have a choice. When you are a customer, you have a choice. Suppose you go to a market and purchase grocery. So you have a lot of choice in grocery. Suppose you want to purchase toothpaste. There are hundreds of companies who are making toothpaste. So you have a choice that who is giving you better quality, who is giving you better price, or who is giving some scheme is there with that product or something like that, right? So similarly, when we talk about electrical energy, you must have listened about the multiple distribution licensees. So suppose in your locality there are 2 distribution licenses or more than 2, then you become a customer because you have a choice that whether you take the power from state electricity company or you take power from the private company Reliance, or there is maybe multiple Tata or something like that. So then you become a customer. So customer has a choice to consume, to purchase of his choice, but consumer don't have a choice. Consumer will have only one distribution licensee who is there in your locality, and you don't have any choice. Whatever they are giving, whether the availability is for 24 hours or not, voltage quality is good or bad, frequency is good or bad, nothing. Okay, so when you have multiple distribution licensee, you have a choice to choose the distribution licensee depending upon the power quality they are giving, depending upon the tariff they are having, any other factor. Understood? Okay, so let me continue with this. Because this word came here, that's why I thought to ask you. And this is the interesting thing that we should know. Okay, so I'm going ahead. So this is an interesting slide. You can zoom and see it later because you may not be able to read all the content here. It's a lot of information. It is showing the current war that began almost 140 years back, and between the Thomas Alva Edison and Nikola Tesla. The age difference is hardly 11 years, but the picture shows like they have a much age difference. Nikola Tesla was younger, so he served the Thomas Alva Edison for some time, but he was not remunerated as per committed by the Thomas Alva Edison. That is mentioned in the story here, falling out. And from there, the rivalry started, and then he connected with Westinghouse and started working on AC system. And then there are a lot of other stories that Thomas Alva Edison has electrocuted one elephant also who died to prove that who is better. And at the end of the story is like they both were nominated for Nobel Prize, but they don't want to share it, so they could not get any one of them. And there are a lot of personal stories in between. Number of patents are associated with Thomas Alva Edison is more than 1,000. However, Nikola Tesla is hardly 100. However, Nikola Tesla was well qualified polytechnic engineer, but not engineer in physics. But Thomas Alva Edison don't have any academic qualification degree. So his approach was hit and trial kind of thing. But Nikola Tesla has more scientific and specific approach. And during the death also, there is a story here. So all of you go through it. And beyond that, there is a recently last year one Hollywood movie has come. And when all these issues, what I have told you, more than that are featured here. So it is available in YouTube freely. So all of you can go through it. You'll find it interesting. The story between AC and DC. So as you know that there are a lot of advantages associated with large interconnected AC system, but definitely there are some difficulties also, some disadvantages also. Always there are some pros and cons. And advantages we all know, it's a long list of advantages that outweigh the disadvantages, and that's why the reason that we have gone for the AC system. Like it harnesses the diversity, inertia, frequency, reliability, reserve, renewable integration, transmission bottlenecks, and electricity market. But from the disadvantage point of view, the major problem is the cascading blackouts. Do you remember our blackout in India? Anybody? Recent blackout in India when it was held? Do you remember?
In 2012, sir.
Very good, very good.
In
So it was
2012.
held, in 2012, and at that time our southern grid was not synchronized with the remaining grid, and that's why the southern grid was not hit for this blackout. All other grid,
Sir, this year also some blackout is in Mumbai.
Yeah, but that was localized. Here the blackout means wider. Okay. So when all the regions are synchronized, then blackout is a real challenge, because cascading of blackout is a very common thing. And other losses and other factors are also there. But definitely the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. That's why we are going for more and more larger network of networks. So this war of current is not yet over, and nowadays we are doing lot of generation, load, storage on the DC. You all agree with that. You can see all of you are having mobile phone, laptops, LED lights. They all are DC powered, right? Inherently, we are connecting them with the AC charger, whether it is mobile or laptop or desktop, but inherently they are DC load. They can be connected directly with the DC power. Similarly, your renewable like solar PV, fuel cell, batteries, they are all DC in nature. Okay, So the earlier war or earlier struggle or rivalry was between AC and DC was of existence, whether AC will exist or DC will exist. And somehow the AC is prevailing for last more than 100 years. But in recent few years, the DC is evolving fast, and now the war is for coexistence. That how much space DC will capture or AC will give to the DC system, and the both AC and DC will coexist together. Without that, we cannot survive, because if we still say no, only AC will remain there. Whatever DC is there, that has to be converted into AC. Then only we will use it. Then our system is not efficient enough. I think earlier speaker must have covered that also, that in his topic. But instead of continuing in a heated AC versus DC battle, it looks like the two current will end up working parallel to each other in a sort of hybrid system. None of that would be possible without genius of both Tesla and Edison. But definitely we should give credit to Tesla and Edison for this. And without both of them, it is impossible. Because nowadays we cannot assume the life without just for an hour of without electricity. All of us get means it's like fish without water. So we are so much dependent on electricity like air and water. So it's like oxygen for our devices. So if our devices don't get oxygen, we get disturbed. No? If our battery of our mobile phone is going down and we don't get the chance to charge it, then see, a lot of noise is coming from the mobile signals only. So this is a typical hybrid microgrid structure, and we will talk in detail in the later section of my presentation, where I will show the actual hybrid microgrid that we have established. The structure is similar to this, so I'm just giving you a overview structure of AC/DC microgrid, hybrid microgrid, where it is connected with the utility grid with the point of common coupling. So the upper half is showing AC microgrid, lower half is AC microgrid, and in between there is an interlinking converter which can exchange the power bidirectionally between them. And this dotted line is showing the local communication with all the converters and the controller, supervisory controller, and the utility grid. So it can operate in both grid connected mode as well as standalone mode, import to the grid, export from the main grid, interchange of the power between DC grid and AC grid. So one of the current project, this is under Imprint Stream. We are developing the real-time energy management system for this AC/DC hybrid microgrid. So we have most of these components shown in this figure in our actual microgrid, hybrid microgrid at IIT Kharagpur. Okay. Any question till here? Because I'm moving to the next section. Any question till here?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Anybody who has any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So if you have any question, you can ask later also. You just keep noting your questions. We can take up at the end. So I will stop around maybe around 11:15, and we'll discuss or summarize whatever we have discussed till today. Okay, let's move to the global energy scenario. And because we should know where do we exist and what other countries are doing, what is going around the world, and how the energy system on the global basis have increased. So have you heard about this IEA? So it is International Energy Agency, and they publish one Atlas of Energy. And if you allow, I can give you a glimpse of this. Just a minute. So if you go to this link, which I have given at the bottom, you will find very interesting details about the global energy scenario. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's coming.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let it come. Then, meantime, let me continue with this. It's taking time actually. So here you will find that a lot of different type of sections are there, and for each section you will find details over the last almost you can say 50 years. So 30 plus 20, 50 years, more than 50 years. Okay, so for last 50 years, how the scenario has changed over the globe. And in this picture, you can see the total electricity generation was 5,000 trillion watt hour in 1973. And these are the circles which are representing the size of the system in each country. So you can see this is the North America, then this is Asian, China, India, in various countries in UK. Though, so it clearly indicates the relative size, and that US was dominating. Then in 1990, sizes have increased because size overall has increased. In 2003, it has further increased, and still the North America is dominating. And you can see in 2018, all of a sudden, the circle of the China has gone much bigger than all other. And the overall energy generation in the globe is around 26,000 trillion watt hour at present. At present means the data, latest data they have updated is for 2018. So this is about the yes. Okay, yeah. So this is the site which I was talking about, and this is the timeline. So you see, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I am moving the timeline. You see, I'm moving this circle. So starting from 1973, if you move this line for every year, the data is changing and the size of the circles are changing, and it is coming like this. Okay, so you can see that circle, and then if you take the cursor on that, you give it the name and the data on that. So this is about the total energy value, and then you can find consumption, you can find the share of industry, you can find the transportation share, residential share in each of them, and a lot of other information is given. So it's very interesting site to visit, where you get a lot of data. So it has different topics and country profiles. Under topics, you will find coal, electricity, energy balance, energy indicators, then natural gas, oil, renewables, CO2 emission. So there are 8 topics, and for each topic you will find a lot of data. So like in electricity, you will get this information. Any question here? Okay, so I hope that you will find it interesting and you will visit this. Any question here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So this is the list of major countries and their data regarding their consumption, their population, source of that data, and year of that data also. So major point here is the per capita consumption based on the total electricity generation and the population. So you just divide the total electricity generation divided by population, you get the per capita what do you call, per capita electricity consumption. So that is in kilowatt hour per person per year. So you can see this figure is quite large vary, and our figure is hardly around 1,000, and where US is 12,000 and Canada is 14,000, even China is 4,000, more than 4,000, and somewhere South Korea 9,000. So these figures are quite largely varying, and the average is around 4,000. World average is around 4,000. World average means total world electricity consumption divided by total population. So we are significantly far away from the world average even. China has crossed the world average, and so that is not a good signal. However, here the world average is shown quite less, it's 2,600, but recently it has gone to 4,000. From this, I have summarized few things here, which are interesting. So till 2018 data, which is updated there, total world gross electricity production share from the fossil fuel is around 64%. This is global data. Fossil fuel like biofuels and waste is 2.4%, hydro 16%, nuclear 10%, wind 5%, solar is 2%, like that. Top 5 countries which are dominating the generation belongs to top one is China, followed by US. India is the third one. Our per capita consumption is very low because of the large population, but among the top 5, India is the third one among the amount of electricity generation, followed by Russia and Japan. So these 5 only account for more than 50% of the total world generation, that is 26,000 trillion watt hour. Renewable is increasing and become the second largest contributor to the global electricity production and accounts for around 25% after the coal, gas and nuclear. Coal and gas actually, and just after coal, second one, then followed by gas, nuclear and oil. And the average increase in the growth of renewable production is around 4% per annum, which is greater than the average growth rate of the total electricity generation is around 3%. Okay. While the renewable growth is more than the total growth, can anybody mention the reason? The last point. The renewable electricity generation worldwide grew on an average by 3.9% per annum, which is greater than the average growth rate of total electricity generation.
Sir, I think the efficiency of the solar module and the renewable energy wind power generation has been improved so a lot in last 10 to 20 years.
Yes, that is fine. But my question is, if the overall growth is around 3%, how the one of the component which is
because we have stopped the nuclear power plant and thermal power plant.
No.
We have
no. Anybody else? It is, I'm giving you a hint. It is talking about the trillion watt hour energy. It is not talking about the watt, kilowatt or megawatt or gigawatt. It is talking about the energy, not power. Yes, anybody else? My question is, how the overall growth or average growth of the total electricity generation is 3% only, but the one of the component, that is renewable energy generation, is growing more than that, that is 4%. If one of the component is growing at 4%, then it total should grow more than 4%. No?
It is a rate of growth only compared to previous years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rate of growth, but in the same year, na? But it is not annual, actually, it is since 1990. And this is the average growth rate.
Sir, actually,
Others have declined, actually, sir. Negative
renewable
growth.
energy generation is
Yes, others are declining. That is
Negative
a factor.
growth.
That
Negative
impact
growth.
is very, very low. That is a factor I accept, but that effect is very, very low. There is one other factor which is more dominant. Yes, somebody else was saying something.
So what I was saying is nowadays the need of renewable energy is becoming large day by day.
So,
and since it has to be increased as the total electricity generation, but consumers are the need of the electricity is also increasing day by day. Right?
No, I think you have not understood the question. My question is, the total is 3%, then how renewable can grow more than total, which is 4%?
Sir, it is actually
one by one, please.
From actually renewable, it's different because growth from renewable only, and
Yes.
and total is different.
No, total includes renewable, no?
Sir, I think that renewable is now replacing the conventional form of energy.
Yeah, someone has already answered that, but I said that is not the major reason. That is a small fraction of the reason, but another dominant reason is something else. See, I've given you a hint. It is talking about the energy, not the power.
So renewable energy has the option to store.
No, doesn't related to storage.
Many
Suppose
power
I
plants shut down,
Huh?
sir. Many old power plants shut down and totally.
Same thing,
giving
same thing. You are
subsidies for
repeating the same thing.
renewable
I
energy.
told you that is a factor, but that has a very small weightage to this reason. See, I am telling you, it's talking about energy, not the power. So suppose I put a 100 kilowatt solar plant. So, and I ask you to calculate how much energy it will generate. How will you calculate?
Okay, in night solar power plant is not generating.
Yes. So that is the difference. Suppose I
Yes,
put
yes,
a 100 kilowatt plant, right?
Yes, sir.
So the energy generation is not for 24 hours.
Yes, sir.
And that is the reason that even if you increase the renewable, right? So their generation will not be that much contributing. Now let's come to the comparison among few important, specific cases of some countries for a specific topic like electricity generation. So you see the growth of China is really significantly high, exponential rise. Okay, and then second one is for the United States, that is also rising in a good manner. And the third is India. Indian growth is also quite good, but you see Russian Federation is almost flat. Do you know what is the advantage they have? Like in US or UK or Russia, their population growth is almost stagnant. So once their demand is not increasing, their population is not increasing, means demand is not increasing. And whatever energy efficient measures that we are adopting today, they have already adopted few years back. So they have lot of energy efficient options they have already adopted. Demand is not increasing, and that is the only reason they have a high per capita consumption, because their generation is still increasing, demand is not increasing, energy efficiency is improved. So that's why their per capita consumption will increase. But in China and India, we have a huge population growth still going on, right? And our generation is not increasing as that good. Our China is increasing in a much faster manner. Then electricity consumption per capita, you see that US is at the top. However, you see that has reduced a little bit or has become constant also. So why this has reduced? Because the demand is not increasing, population is not increasing, and energy efficiency measures have been taken significantly. China, you see, it is orange, it is increasing. Russian Federation is almost stagnant, and India is also rising, but with a very slow rate. These two are very interesting curve, and here you can see one interesting curve is for the Denmark. Can you tell why it is like this? Denmark curve, which is sharply falling after 2000 or 1995.
So because it is using a renewable form of energy mostly.
Which one?
Denmark.
They have installed so much amount of wind power plant. Wind power plant.
Wind power and solar power.
Wind power, right. So Denmark actually was the first country who started this wind energy for power generation. And now they have a significant share of the wind energy, and that's how the share of the fossil fuel has reduced significantly in the last 20-15 years. Right, but all others have almost stagnant. You see, hardly for the US there is a small reduction because of the shale gas revolution. The natural gas is now more than the coal consumption they have. So their natural gas consumption has increased compared to the coal consumption, but more or less it is in the same band. They have not changed a lot. And the lower one is for the nuclear. It's the only country in the world is France, which is having almost 80% share from the nuclear. And Japan, with the recent accident, they have reduced their nuclear in a significant manner. And all the countries are stagnant. They are not neither increasing nor decreasing. And a lot of political pressure is there. A lot of safety issues are there. And that safety concern is a major challenge, which is which is not increasing the nuclear share in a good manner. Okay. This is a share of renewable increase in electricity production in last few years, and you can see here again the Denmark, as I've told you, because the wind has grown to more than 70%, but others are also increasing and going in a different share. So in India, you can see the share has gone down, the brown one. The last one, brown one is the share which has gone down because initially the generation was very low. Overall generation was very low. So we have increased the generation, but the share of coal is dominating in that share of increase. And that's why the renewable share has effectively reduced. It is increasing now. Now wind and solar is increasing. But at the same time, the rate of growth in the fossil is more than the rate of growth in the renewables. Any question till here? So globally, the largest electricity consuming countries are China, 26-27%, US followed by this. Then together they account for 40% global consumption. Just these two countries account for 40% of global consumption, followed by India is again third number, Japan, Russia, Germany, and so in India, top 10 consuming countries account for more than 2/3 of global electricity consumption. And the global natural gas production has hit the new record, as I was telling you. The shale gas revolution in US, China, and Arabian countries. So global consumption of gas is still vastly dominated. Over the half of the global gas production dominated by the top 5, US, Russia, Iran, Canada, and Qatar. Any question here?
No, sir.
And I'm not very happy to listen, no, sir. I'll be more happy to see somebody is asking something. How it can be so straightforward, no, sir?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, since, as we all know, the need of renewable is getting high day by day, but still
what is increasing?
Need of renewable energy, like
you
can simply say solar.
Yeah.
But we could not able to show much improvement as other countries are doing right now.
See, we cannot say that we are not doing good. We are doing beyond than our commitment. Actually, I will show on one of the slides that our commitment was of 175 gigawatt by 2022, and different share among that in that 175, and then we have achieved almost 90% of that. So we cannot say that we are not doing good. We are doing good. Our challenges are different. See, every country is unique in terms of their resources, in terms of their challenges. So our challenges are different. Our issues are different in the sense that the population is the first major challenge. Then the distribution companies are not doing very well. That is another major challenge. There are a lot of managerial inefficiencies are involved. There are a lot of technical issues are involved. There are a lot of non-support from the consumer side. There is a lot of power theft happens, and the revenue collection of the tariff is not that efficient. We have so in that you say that our system is collectively growth for all the sectors.
Yes, sir, but you see nowadays a lot of solar cars are coming in the way, like solar auto, battery auto. You can simply say it is battery auto. We can run in solar, but not always, right? So the number of the production itself, it is very less in India when compared to all other countries. Why? Because the cost of the battery is high. Battery costs more. Why not our government is taking steps to initialize something regarding the batteries? Because the battery is the main thing for any solar car that we are using. Solar car, not only solar car, solar bike we are using, electric bike we are saying. But we are not saying, government is not taking much step, right?
Right.
But we are in need of that.
Yes, you are right. You are right that we need that, but I don't agree that government is not doing anything. See, if every time we put the blame on someone and stop our role, then the story does not finish there. It is not the matter that who is the culprit. It is the matter that what you are contributing. Are you contributing anything in that? If you are not, then you are equally blamed as the government.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Right. So first of all, you should understand that whenever new things come, it is not that suppose government announced or Maruti Suzuki announced that we are coming with a totally new solar powered, battery powered car, but it is costing 5 lakh rupees more than the usual car. Are you going to buy that? No. Nobody will go to buy that. What we'll do, we'll say, okay, it has come. Let others purchase it. Let it test it in the market. Let it prove its value. Right? There may be some technical challenges. There will be chalega ki nahi chalega. A lot of issues will be there. So we'll wait for it. Right? So same thing happens with any new thing. Any new technology comes. We all wait for it when it is matured, when it is tested, and then our pocket allows it. Then only we invest on it. Right? So don't blame on the government that government is not doing anything. Government is doing much good things.
Is not to blame the government.
It is only that you are not aware of it. Okay. So first of all, we should make ourselves aware what is happening, what are the policies have been made, what the technological developments have been made. Definitely, we are far behind than the top countries. For the one simple example is that still there is no company in India who is making the solar cells or wafers. Whoever is making the solar panel, they are making the modules. They are not making the wafers or cells. They are importing the wafers, they are importing the cells, and then making the modules. So in China, Taiwan is a small country. They have several companies who are making the cells and then they are exporting to the India. Right. If we have that part also here, then definitely our module cost will further reduce. Right.
Absolutely, sir. But my intention is not to blame the government. But what I'm asking is, what I said is about the cost of the battery. Lithium ion is the main thing for any solar.
Here, whenever a new technology comes, it is costly. It is a chicken and egg problem. Who comes first?
Yes.
Okay. So until there is a demand, how they are supposed to give you in a low cost? When there will be demand, they will produce in a mass scale. The cost will automatically reduce.
Demand is
you start purchasing the electric vehicle in a large number, electric vehicle cost will reduce, definitely. But there are hardly few people who are purchasing it.
Yes.
There is no demand. So there is no demand, so production cost is high.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's good. It's good that we have this kind of interaction. Then only our session is makes sense, useful. Anybody else? Any question? Okay, let's move on to the next section. Yeah.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Indian power system. So I'm just giving you the figures of 1950s. How was our Indian power system? Our installed capacity was less than 2 gigawatt. Annual energy generation was 5 billion units. Capita consumption was hardly 15 units. 15 units per capita per person. Transmission lines was hardly 3,000 kilometers, and the share among the public and private was 67 to 33. Now these figures have drastically changed, and it's only because of the government. You cannot say government is not doing anything, and not only government, the private sector that has played a very, very strong and positive role in that. Okay, so if I just compare with 2015, we have crossed to 275 gigawatt per capita as a consumption was gone beyond 1,000. Per capita consumption as well as the annual energy generation, both kilometer of transmission line has gone in lakhs of kilometers, and the ratio of this private and public has also got changed, and lot of central level generation and state level generation has come. Okay, So now these figures have further changed. These figures are 5 years back. So I will share you the recent figures, which are further more than this, much more than this, and so it is growing in a very fast manner and very sharp rise increase is there. So we should see where from we have started and when. Okay, then you say that why we are not doing as the US is doing. China is the exception. I agree with you, and definitely we should have that kind of government initiatives like China has. So if we compare on some important figures like power system and power market. So system means the generation side, transmission side, and all that. So our peak demand is almost 50% of our total installed capacity, 175 gigawatt right now. And per day we have around 4 billion units energy met. This hydropower, wind power, and total installed capacity is now more than 365 gigawatt. Out of that, thermal, hydro, wind has major share. Total number of generations, HVDC lines, and the transmission lines. So we are operating at 765 kilovolt, but now we have started also 1200 kilovolt transmission line in some sectors as a testing option. And on the market side, we have grown significantly, and the short-term market has gone up to 10% of the total market here. This is a long-term market. So there we have power trading traders also. Now the power trading is a licensed activity. We have 43 players, more than that. This keeps varying every year. Market participants are there significantly. We have 2 power exchanges. One is called Indian Energy Exchange, one is called Power Exchange of India Limited. How many of you know this power exchange? Anybody knows power exchange? Heard about power exchange? Hello?
Power exchange is nothing but between 2 states they can change the exchange the power. Is it right, sir?
2 states. Why 2 states?
Yeah.
No.
In between supporting, for example, in between corporations also.
No, I am asking what is power exchange?
Suppose we are generating much more power. So suppose we are our consumption is, let us take one example. Suppose 10 kilowatt power is generating in a particular house by solar
Okay.
or wind. Suppose
Okay.
on that house only 5 kilowatt power they can use per day. So 5 kilowatt extra power that has been generated on that house or on that building, that can be exchanged, or that can be sold to the state distribution companies. That means that power can be used some other house or local area. That power can be used. This at the time when we require the power, we can take the power.
Then it is a bilateral between that house and the distribution company.
Exactly. That is the exchange.
I am
of
asking
power.
for the power exchange, not bilateral. Bilateral is different.
Okay.
Have you heard about power exchange? Anyone has heard about power exchange? We have 2 power exchange in India. Have you heard about India
I
Energy
think
Exchange?
where we can purchase power, or just like a stock exchange of India, we
Very
have
good.
a power exchange of there we can sell, consumer or producer can sell their power in the
Okay.
market.
Okay. Very good. Very good. How it is different from stock exchange? Is this different from power exchange in some
No.
aspect?
It is just like power. It's just like a power exchange also, where the different type of
No.
algorithm is there.
No. It is not just like a stock exchange. There are few important differences because the product is different, na?
Yes, sir. Yes, product is different.
So how it is different from stock exchange? It has lot of similarities. I agree with you. It has lot of similarities with the stock exchange, but there are few important differences also. How many of you have have experienced the stock exchange or stock market?
Sir,
Anyone has
today
Yeah.
have
stock market?
Yeah.
Demat account you have?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So how do you operate your Demat account, or what do you do in stock market?
Trading can be done, sir.
How do you do that?
if
Suppose you want to sell,
IPOs are there, or
you want to
if
sell
there
your
is a low
share,
price.
what do you do?
Buy or sell orders, sir.
So what kind of sell order? What are the specification you give in your sell order?
We can have limit order. We can. Yeah.
So you specify that I will sell this much amount, right? This much number of shares, quantity, you mention the quantity,
And price
you
also
mention
will
the
be
price that I
Yeah.
will not sell below this price. This is
below
my,
this limit order. It
yeah,
is.
you have a minimum price. When you are selling, you will say, I am sale with at a minimum this much price, right?
Yes, sir.
Like bidding, sir.
Huh?
Like bidding.
Yeah,
No.
it's a bidding.
Yeah.
It's a bidding process.
Okay.
And when you are going to purchase, then what do you say?
Yeah. We'll ask for a
We will for low prices. Looking for
again
Low
limit
prices or
order.
maximum prices?
We'll limit
sale
order.
for maximum price, sir. And
Yes.
for
Buying at the lowest price.
Maximum price. You will say that I will not purchase beyond this price.
Beyond
This is
this.
the maximum price I will pay for this much quantity, right?
Yeah.
yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So in this way, the bids are collected from different players, both sides, supplier side and demand side.
Yes, sir.
So you have a supply and demand curves. Now these two curves are intersect each other.
At that point,
Right.
the order will be executed.
So on a price quantity curve, if you intersect the demand and supply curves, you will get a point of intersection, and that will give you the market clearing price and market clearing volume.
Sir,
So
today
that is
I
the
have
basic philosophy which is used in stock market as well as power exchange. Stock exchange and power exchange, same.
So today I have seen in paper that we are going to say means we got the solar power in lowest price per unit 2 rupees. It seems to be given. It seems to be today. The bidding has been done last year 2 rupees 36 paisa, but this year it came to be 2 rupees from Saudi Arabia company. Means is this also the same as power exchange or a difference? Sir?
No, if it is from different countries, then it may be a different power exchange. Every country has its own power exchange.
No, sir. In our country, they are doing that project. It seems to be.
They are bidding, huh? So
yeah.
that price you are talking is actually not for the power exchange. That is actually that they have bid that they will build the plant and they will charge this much tariff.
Okay. Okay.
Now the plant, that generation plant is based on the tariff basis.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
When you are going to install a plant, you have to quote the price at which you will charge your energy. Understand? Now here I am talking about the short-term market. Power exchange is a short-term market where you do for day-ahead basis. Whatever bids are collected, they have been settled, and all that settlement is done. That is on the day-ahead basis.
So these are long-term markets, sir. Now whatever they are bidding today, whatever I am saying.
Yeah, that may be long-term also. That may be a preferential tariff category or long-term also.
Okay,
now, the difference between stock exchange and power exchange is that in stock exchange, whatever shares you sell or purchase, that will simply reflect on your Demat account. There is no physical delivery involved. Do you get any share papers physically after your settlement? No. In stock exchange? No. But in power exchange, whatever settlement has done for the amount of energy, right, at whatever price, that has to be delivered next 24 hours. So that how it becomes different from the stock exchange. Now above that delivery cannot be done in a packet and through the courier or through the transportation or railway or road or ship. That has to be done only through the transmission line. Right?
Yes.
Yes. So that becomes electricity commodity unique from the other commodities. And that's how the power exchanges are different from the other exchanges. So another section involved after the settlement of market is the transmission allocation. So until you have enough transmission passage available or without congestion, then only you will be able to execute it. So you have to have ensured that there has to be a sufficient transmission corridor available to transmit the energy which is settled in the power exchange one day ahead. So next day, NLDC ensures, the National Load Dispatch Center ensures that whatever has been transacted settlement has to be executed through the transmission line. That is also decided mutually with the power exchange and the NLDC. You know about SLDC, RLDC, NLDC?
Yes, sir.
So NLDC is the topmost National Load Dispatch Center, which interact, because these are the national power exchange. So it is done on the national basis. It is not state-wise power exchange. Please mute your mic. Open access is another important aspect which has come after Electricity Act 2003, and bilateral I was talking about. So we will talk. There are three different type of transactions happening. Basically, one is the collective power exchange, as I told you. Then the bilateral, which is one-to-one, that you were giving the example. It may be between two distribution company. It may be between a power generation company and a distribution company. Anything. And the third one is like unscheduled interchange, that is called a deviation settlement mechanism, DSM. So all that comes under the open access. So total per year energy has gone to 130, and out of that 130 billion units per year is transacted through the short term only. So that is 10%. So overall is 1300 billion units. So 130, 10% is from the short term. Out of the short term, power exchange has a dominant portion of 65 billion units, almost 50%. And then second is a bilateral. So power exchange always gives best price because it's a common neutral platform for all the participants. So there is full transparency. There is no preference can be given to anyone in compared to the bilateral. So the power exchange is a better option for a competitive electricity market. This is the picture shown for the Indian power system. You can see the coal is dominating with 55%, almost 200 gigawatt, and this data is for 31st August 2019 from CEA report. And total installed capacity is 365 gigawatt. Out of that, 200 gigawatt coming from the coal. Peak demand is just half of it, 180 gigawatt. And hydro is the second largest. It is 12.5% with 45 gigawatt. Then gas is around 7%. Nuclear and diesel are very small. Then the renewable portion has gone to 23.7%. Out of which solar and wind are almost becoming equal now. However, wind is still more, around 10%. It is 9%. And then biomass and the small hydro is there. And so renewable has gone up to around 87 gigawatt out of 365 gigawatt. Power market or the short-term market is 10%. Generation growth is 7.5%. Annual consumption is around 1300 billion units. The share of private has gone beyond the figure what we have shown in 2015. It is now 45% around. Central is 25%. State is 31%. So this is the overall picture for the Indian power scenario. Any question here? Is it clear to all of you? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any question? Is it known to all of you, or am I really giving you something new and useful?
New and useful, sir.
Okay, good. So let's move. And, as I was telling you, our electric power industry is the most polluting one, and out of global basis, India is contributing 6% carbon emission. If you see the peak demand and installed capacity growth over the future, currently we are around somewhere here in between these two, and we are close to this. So you see that peak demand and the installed capacity is almost 50%. And now I have a question here. That we say that our peak demand will be 50% of our installed capacity, right? So means our installed capacity is always surplus. Then why we have deficit?
Sir, because installed capacity, our solar power plant is not working in daytime, and some wind power plant is working about 8 to 10 hours only. So how can we generate about total installed capacity?
Right, very good. So the first reason is the installed capacity doesn't mean that it continuously 365 days, 24 hours operate with the same capacity, right? So out of which something is renewable, which is not available 24 hours. All the plants are not operating at the full capacity all the time. So our installed capacity may be 500 or 700 or something, but actual power generation may be less than that. That is the one reason. Second, there are three reasons. You just follow the flow of power. Your answers will be coming. You have started from generation, that is true. What the next?
And our transmission line losses is so high, around
Right.
17% is there.
It is more than 25% here. So average, if you say it is 20 to 25%. So we lost 20 to 25% in transmission. Further, our generation will reduce, right?
Yes.
Then
Distribution.
distribution losses are also there. So T&D losses together is around 25%. But whatever is demand here is accounted demand, official recorded demand. But there is a lot of unofficial or unauthentic or what do you say, demand is there, which is not known or not recorded basically officially. Okay, so this demand curve rises and this generation curve falls, and that's why our difference is now very, very less, but it's still there is a deficit. So this is showing the same thing what we have seen earlier. Coal, oil, gas together is 225, which is fossil fuel is 225 gigawatt, hydro 45, nuclear, RES, and RES includes solar, wind, small hydro, and biomass, and the percentage wise it is 24%. And if you see the installed generation capacity in India has gone in a significant manner over the last 10 years. So you can see thermal has also increased, but the growth in thermal is more than the growth in others. That's why the renewable is still not coming up in that manner, which is there. But you can see the green belt, which is for renewable, is increasing, and the coal black one is slightly decreasing. Share percentage. This is an interesting table. If you see the table from the top, the region-wise resources are shown: northern, western, southern, eastern, like that. And this is thermal, nuclear, hydro on the column-wise. So the interesting figure is where do we have the coal mines, in which part of India? Maximum coal mines in which part of India?
In northern, in Jharkhand and Odisha.
Even in south also, sir. In south also.
Region. Which
Northeast.
region?
Eastern, sorry. Eastern
region.
Eastern south.
Right. Eastern region. Right. So eastern region should have maximum thermal generation.
That's like that is not like happening.
No, sir. No, it is not possible.
It is not possible.
No, it's possible, but
There
we have,
is a possibility, but they are not using.
that type of.
Unfortunately, it is not even second, not even third. Right? If you see the total of the thermal, the maximum is just opposite western part of India.
Sir, some part of the power, some part of the coal we have for using in the thermal power plant, we are purchasing from Australia, and that's why we have installed in southern part of India.
No,
Yes, sir.
we
It is also.
import some good quality coal because our coal quality is not good. We have a huge carbon emission.
Yes.
So imported coal is there. That's true. But my point is, we have the coal mines in eastern part of India and thermal generation is maximum in the western part of India, right? But even second is also northern part of India, and third is the southern part of India, and fourth is the eastern part of India. See the sequence, right? So that is unfortunate, and that is because the industrial development is not good in eastern part of India as compared to the western and others. Second thing is the renewables, and maximum wind and solar is still in the western part of India. So you southern part of India, sorry. So you see the southern has maximum RES. Now the renewable is solar is increasing in the western part of India. So maybe definitely after a few years, the western part will also have more RES, and that is what's shown in the bar charts here. This is the gigawatt capacity wise, right? So RES is increasing in a significant manner.
Sir,
Okay, and- yeah.
one point is I think the land availability is also important part for the installation of thermal power plant and renewable energy power plant. Because the
Yes,
northern
but
India
that is not
we
a
have
constraint.
in northern India we have maximum agricultural land, and that cannot be used for the industrial.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Sir, here in South India, most of the people are now trying to install on homes also, sir.
Yes,
One
yes.
of the reason renewable energy source is increasing in day by day because
Yes.
here such a way that the people are thinking if we install that, we only can use the power and remaining can be buy by the SPDC. Means in our side distribution companies. That is the one of the reason it has been improving also.
And along with that, I will show you the data. There is a huge gigawatt
Amount.
scale plants are coming in southern part of India, right? And that
Yeah,
is the
yes, sir.
major reason. We have the world largest. Means it's the war again between the China and India. In some point of time in news, you will see the China is the first or the largest solar one location at a single location, largest single solar PV installation. Sometime India will become that. So at the time of commissioning, the figures change. So this is showing the sector-wise, state, private, and central. You can see the ratio of the private green one has changed significantly from last 10 years, and you see that so renewable is coming from the private, maximum coming from the private, significant share, and that is very good sign, very good sign. Only the private is not there in the nuclear, otherwise it is everywhere, and hydro also, which is also not given to the private sector. Mostly it is government sector only. So except nuclear and hydro, private is doing significantly high. You see in the thermal, whether it is renewable, everywhere. This is showing you the electricity generation over the last 10 years. So there is one more column is given for the Bhutan import. Do you know we have a cross-border power trading?
Yes, sir.
With whom?
With Bangladesh and Bhutan and Nepal also.
Very good. We have started with Myanmar also, and we are planning with Sri Lanka also. We can definitely have with Pakistan also. You know that. And but why we are not doing it, that is also known to all of us. So technically there is no issue. Politically there are a lot of issues. So Bhutan import. See, there is always an import from the Bhutan because Bhutan has all the years over the year means throughout the year has a surplus. Our Nepal and Bangladesh have a fluctuating. Some point of time they have surplus, some point of time they have deficit. Yes.
These are only mainly hydropower plant, I think.
Right, they are all run-off river. Yeah. So all are hydro. I will show you some. I have a slide for the all neighboring countries. So this is the way we are growing, and yeah, this chart is interesting. And as we have shown in the previous chart, you can see there are two bars shown here. One is red, one is purple. One is for program, one for achievement. So the actual is the achievement actually. Don't bother about that program and achievement. The point here was to show there is no bar shown for the renewable. Yes?
Yeah.
Thermal is there, hydro is there, nuclear is there, total is there, but renewable bar is not there because this is a bar for energy generation, not for the installed power. Earlier bar was for the installed power. This is for the total installed capacity, megawatt, where the bar from the renewable was higher than the hydro, much higher than the nuclear. Even it was more than double than the hydro also. Because if you see the percentage wise, hydro is 13%, renewable is 24%, nuclear is 2%. So installed capacity wise, renewable is 24% and nuclear is 2%. Hydro is 13%. But if you go for the generation or energy point of view, you see the renewable bar is missing here. And what is the reason? If you plot here, the bar height will be almost,
Very small.
Almost negligible.
You can see from this. If you just subtract the achievement table given below from May 20 to May 19, the 1 year, the difference will be how much? This is in million units, figure in million units. So difference between these two is 1000 million units,
Yeah.
12,000 to 13,000,
Yes.
1000 million units, right? And this bar chart is also in million units, so 1000. And nuclear is around 10,000. So it will be 1/10 of the nuclear. Bar height for the renewable will be 1/10 of the height of this nuclear, which is almost invisible. However, percentage-wise, nuclear was 2% and renewable is 24%. And energy-wise, which is actual important figure, energy yield, which is you are going to consume in your appliances, is 1/10 of the nuclear. And this is a recent figure, April 20 to June 20. Okay, so ATC losses. ATC is aggregated technical and commercial losses. TND is transmission and distribution losses. You can see these figures are in the range of 20 to 25%, which is a challenging still we have. It should be interconnected power. So you can see that wind power is still dominating around 37 gigawatt, then solar ground mounted, solar rooftop, small hydro, biomass, waste to power and total. And the bar chart is shown at the bottom. Yeah, this is an interesting figure, and here we should understand that how the nature is kind on us, and it has made a natural balance for our resources and our demand. So our hydro potential is only at the northern northeastern part of India, right? Our coal potential mines are maximum in the eastern part of India, and we can transport the coal. You might have seen a lot of trains traveling from the eastern part of India to going to other part of India. But we cannot transport these hydro resources. You cannot transport the water reservoirs, right? You have to exploit and then and there only, right? You have to make the hydropower plant at the resource where the resource located. So you can only transport the coal. You cannot transport the wind and solar also. Now, wind and solar has specific location. You can see that wind is blowing everywhere. How do you say that wind is available only in southern part of India? But the wind power generation needs a minimum cut-in speed. So 5 meter per second is the minimum cut-in speed through which only we can generate the effective energy output. And that's how they have in limited pockets of southern part of India. And similarly, solar is also, solar radiation is available everywhere. Why are you saying solar is only on the western part of India? Because solar radiation intensity is highest in the western part of India. It is varies from 4 kilowatt hour per meter square per day to 6 kilowatt hour per meter square per day to the move from northeast to western part of India. So the thumb rule is, suppose you install 1 kilowatt solar plant in my site that is near to Kolkata. I am in Kharagpur. So it generates around 4 units of electricity per day. It's around 3.8 somewhere like that. So even if 4 units per day, and if you put the same 1 kilowatt plant in the Rajasthan or in Gujarat, you will get 6 units per day. So it's 50% higher yield with the same investment. So you can imagine, these are all business. They have to make a profit also. So once you are getting 50% higher yield, why you will invest large solar plant in these other parts of India? And that's how the gigawatt scale plants are coming in the southern and the western part of India. So we have earlier, when this solar and wind was not there, it was a huge unbalance basically. The hydro potential and coal potential were on the one side, and the demand, which is north and western southern part of India, which was on the other side. So it was unbalanced. Resource on one side, demand on the other side. But how now with this solar and wind, it has uniformly distributed, and we are exploiting it all around. Any question till here? Okay, so this is giving you the peculiar region-wise information on different part of regions of India, and each region has its unique specification. Like northern region is a deficit region. Deficit means their own resources are less than their own demand, right? So, and major resources are run of river hydropower plant, either weather sensitive, and the adverse weather conditions happens there. Northeastern part has a very low loads. It's a surplus region, again based on the hydro potential. But there is an evacuation problem. Chicken and neck call. It is called chicken neck. So you don't get enough right of way for the transmitting this excess power to this. Then eastern region is also surplus power, and they have high coal reserves. Large pit head thermal power plant are there. Western part is a larger industrial load, deficit region. Southern region is also deficit region and high agricultural load. Now we're coming to the basic primary sources of energy. So can you tell what are the primary sources of useful energy? Can you name them?
Solar, wind.
Very good. Solar is the primary source of energy, but wind is not primary source. Do you know? Wind is a secondary source or byproduct of sun.
No, byproduct of sun, yes.
Why? How it is byproduct of sun?
Because due to the motion of the earth and this solar energy, the wind is the motion of the wind is there.
No,
Movement
motion
the
of
wind
earth is one factor. Other factor is
Other factor is the
Pressure difference.
solar light, and
difference of
that
pressure.
will change the pressure of the
what will change the pressure?
Temperature.
Temperature of the
Why temperature will different?
Heat
because
energy
the
of the
earth,
sun.
the solar energy received by the earth, and that heat up the wind of the
No,
connected to the
why
earth.
the temperature will be different on the earth?
Where we are receiving the solar energy, that will be that area will be hotter than the
Land and
normal.
water. Land and water. You have
So land and
temperature.
water has a local effect. Here we are talking about a global wind system. Land water effect is very localized.
Because intensity of
See, solar
sunlight is
radiation
different.
is
Yeah,
not uniform. Solar radiation is not uniform over different latitudes of the earth, right?
equatorial region receives more.
that causes the temperature difference, and that causes the pressure difference. So that pressure difference causes the movement of air, that is wind. And then the earth has a rotating on its own axis, right? That causes the direction of the wind. So one scientist called Coriolis that has invented that theory, and that is called Coriolis force. So in northern hemisphere, the wind direction moves towards the right hand side, and the southern hemisphere, it deviates towards the left hand side. So that theory is there. You can search in the literature. And so wind is one of the byproducts. What are the others? Tell quickly.
There are so many, sir. Petroleum and coal and gases.
All fossil fuel. All fossil fuel is a byproduct, because without sun, their cycle is incomplete. If sun is not there, they will not be formed. Their cycle is incomplete. However, they take thousands of years to form, but sun has an important role in that. So fossil fuel are also byproduct of the sun. Very good. What else?
Water.
Hydro
Hydropower
resources.
plant.
Yes. Not plant, hydro resources. What else?
Biomass.
Evaporation. Water evaporation is sun has a major role, so hydro is also there. What else?
Biomass.
energy.
Biomass and fossil, water, wind. Anything else?
Nuclear.
Have you heard about tidal or geothermal?
Tidal
Power plant and geothermal.
Tidal is byproduct of sun only.
Geothermal.
Tidal is
Moon
also
also.
depends upon the
Moon.
moon also.
Right. So that's why tidal is considered as a primary source, because it does not depend only on the sun, and moon has a dominant role in that. because moon is much closer. So that's why it is not called as a primary source. Sorry, it is not called as a secondary source of the sun. It is called as a primary source. What else? Geothermal?
Geothermal, yeah.
What, geothermal is primary or secondary?
It's primary.
Secondary, sir. It's a secondary.
Why secondary?
Because the earth temperature depends upon the sun. Because we are recharging this earth ground temperature is recharged from the sun, solar energy. So that's why.
Geothermal temperature is recharged from the sun.
Sir,
I think
from
primary,
volcanoes,
sir,
volcanoes.
because
So does it have any control from the sun?
No, sir, that
No,
is not
no.
at all.
No, sir, no, sir.
Yeah, so that is again a primary source. Geothermal is not dependent on the sun. That is, radioactive decay is the primary source of energy for the geothermal energy. So sun is the primary source, and this PV and thermal you haven't talked about. Solar PV, solar thermal, wind, wave energy. Even wave energy is a byproduct of sun, because when the wind blows over the ocean surface, that causes a wave. Ocean thermal energy conversion system, hydro, biomass, biofuel, coal, oil, natural gas. Okay, all fossil fuels. Then your geothermal is the primary source because it's dependent on the radioactive decay and chemical reaction. Tidal is again the motion and gravitational pull of the sun, moon, and earth all together. And sometime in some literature, human-induced nuclear reaction is also called as a primary source. Okay, I am stopping here because I think it's 11:31. So this is a kind of name and nomenclature and comparison between renewable and non-renewable. Yeah, Professor Arvind.
Okay.
If you allow, I can continue. Otherwise, I can stop.
Actually, sir, next.
Yeah, Professor Jai Govind, how are you?
So he is also ready. Now next speaker is Dr. J.J. Singh, sir.
Oh, okay, very good. So I will get a chance to listen to him also. So I will continue from here.
So thank you very much, Dr. Bajpayee, for giving very insight regarding the Indian power sector and the global scenario regarding the energy. And I think it will ignite all the participants, and they will discuss. And they will first think about that, and definitely they will discuss in the tomorrow's lecture with you. So from my side, thank you very much, and we will again connect in the third day of the first session, means tomorrow. Thank you.
I will share the PPT with Dr. Arvind, then he will dispose as his plan.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of you.
Thank you, sir.
So, dear participants,